Welcome back to another episode of Projecting Grandeur. I am your host, Ron Dichter. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks again for being part of this community. We are here to help entrepreneurs change the world. I believe that entrepreneurs are the innovators, the disruptors, the people that are putting risk on the line to drive the world forward. And anything that I can do to help to motivate, to help to inspire, and to give any sort of words of wisdom or even cautionary tales, then I'm all about that. I bring on some amazing guests that have experience that I don't have. But I am a multiple, entrepreneur, multiple startup entrepreneur with, quite a few exits, two that exceeded 9 figures in sales. So I'm pretty excited to share whatever I have with you. I'm a big believer in planning. I'm also a big believer in understanding how to get to a destination. And sometimes things are, really, best practices, or you create a plan or a goal or a performer or something that is going to be your guiding light. And obviously, as you get into it, things change and evolve and pivot. But not having a plan is a really hard way to go about starting a business, running a business, and more importantly, making sure that your team is aligned with what your missions are. And as I think about plans in general, one of the most important parts about a plan is understanding where you're trying to get to, but also understanding how you're going to get there. And so, what I try to do, and I have a saying that I've been using for decades now, I call it success planning. And success planning is nothing more than creating that roadmap or creating that plan that you're going to follow in order to hit your goals. So, starting out, you have to have what your goal is, right? You have to have your long term goal, and you have to know exactly what you're trying to accomplish, and you need to put a time frame on that. Maybe your goal is to grow an X number of business. Maybe your goal is to exit. Maybe your goal is to have a certain number of customers, or locations, whatever your specific goal is. And it could be multifaceted. Having that written down, understanding what it is important. You have to actually put down on paper what your goal is. Then the next thing that I do is I work one step removed from that. And I say, what are the big things that have to happen in order for me to hit this goal? Right? If I'm going to achieve this end result, what are some of the macro steps that I have to take? Maybe if it's number of locations, I need to have X number of managers in place, or I need to have a management training program, in place, or I need to have, X number of locations open by this time frame, or if it's a revenue goal, if you want to hit 100 million, 10 million, whatever it is in sales, what are some of the things that are going to do? What is the core gross revenue need to be from your core product, from your ancillary products, recurring revenue, whatever it is your model is, trying to unpack those big goals. And then I take it one step down from there and I say, okay, for me to hit these kind of, mini macro goals, what do I need to have happen? What do I need to have in place? How many team members am I going to need? What is my, SOPs? Like there's a million things that can be, but trying to understand your specific business and understanding, okay, here's my top level goal. Here's kind of the next tier. If I'm going to hit this goal, I have to have these, next things achieved. One step down, okay, if I'm going to hit these mid-tier goals, here's the things that I need to do. And then one more step removed, if I'm going to hit these, what's some of the starting things that I have to do in order to get things in motion to get to that point? And by creating this, and again, it's different for every business. So I don't want to pretend like I have the answer to your specific business, but you are creating this plan, right? You're putting these goals on paper. You're creating what this plan is. You need to understand the steps that need to happen in order for you to reach this goal. You can't just put a goal out on the board and say, I hope to hit it because I'm going to work really hard. That isn't going to get it done. Work really hard needs to be translated into actual, steps, actually hitting certain benchmarks to be able to achieve that. And so as you start unpacking those, creating a success plan, meaning what are the actual activities that have to go into each of these steps in order for me to achieve this. So like, let's say you're just starting out and you've broken it down. You have this, big goal of hitting $10 million in sales in 5 years. And in order to do that, it's going to require you to have 4 locations. In order to have 4 locations, you need to have, 5 core managers. In order to have 5 core managers selling X number of widgets or services, you need to have, this many team members. And again, whatever that looks like for your business, you have to then create that plan, and you have to create, these gates or these steps so that you can actually hold yourself accountable. And so if you create a 5-year goal, having a 1-month checkpoint, having a 6-month checkpoint, having a 1 year, a 2 year, a 3 year, a 4 year, and 5 year, and really helping to hold yourself accountable to these is really going to help you create a success plan that you can actually follow, that you can actually achieve, and that you can actually help hold yourself accountable. Because inevitably, what's going to happen is as you're going through these steps, you may actually have to make adjustments, and that's okay. But if you wait until the end and you do or don't hit your goal and you try to adjust then, you kind of went too far, right? You have to be able to make these adjustments along the way. And by having this success plan, number one, it holds you accountable to many steps that you have to do to achieve these bigger goals. But more importantly, it allows you to make pivots up or down based upon the actual results that you had hypothesized that you would achieve. And you can make those pivots early enough so that you have a better chance of hitting your goal in the time frame that you've allotted for yourself. So success planning for me is part of life. Success planning for me is breaking down everything into digestible bites. Success planning for me is holding myself accountable to daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly goals, and really using these opportunities to learn, to pivot, make adjustments, and continue to go down that path, of iteratively making the process better. So set big goals, create a success plan that you can follow, and don't forget, it's okay to pivot, but you can't wait until the end. You have to have these micro steps to do it so that you have a better chance of hitting your goals in the timeframes that you've described for yourself. This is about holding yourself accountable. You've chosen to be an entrepreneur. You're the one in charge. You're the one that's calling the shots, but you're the one that needs to hold yourself accountable because nobody's going to do it for you. It's up to you. So own that. Create a success plan. Get busy. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Ron Dichter. This is Projecting Grandeur. Please remember to share this with somebody else that might benefit. Don't forget to like and comment. It would mean the world to me. Thanks again. Have a great day.